back to the Film Muse podcast, episode -4. It's going to be a little different, as you can see. I'm here on my couch, not in my chair in my room. And I don't know if I want to call this just cozy couch time, something like that, different episode, because instead of going over a specific movie, I'm going to take a look at some things on Letterboxd / the rest of the internet and take a look at it, give my overall reactions to it. So I've got the handy dandy laptop here. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hit you like that, my baby. And I'll be going through today. To start will be the Letterboxd Year in Review that they sent out to everyone. For those who are unaware of what Letterboxd is, it's a social media platforming site, essentially Goodreads for movies. And it's a great way for you to connect with your friends and other people online who are film enthusiasts like yourself. Just a way for you to log movies, get an idea of what's popular right now. But overall, it's just a great way to socialize with friends too, for those that I do follow on there. So yes, we'll be going through the year in review today, and I am interested because I haven't looked at it yet, so I'm not super sure what it contains, but it's going to be interesting to see what they have, the top movies, top rated, and everything else. So looking at this right here, it's pretty cool. First image, I like that. It's a good, candidly, I can't say I know all of the references on here. I mean, I see a lot. Like, you've got Barbie, Oppenheimer, Poor Things. I assume that's Bottoms. I'm not sure. Past Lives, Spider-Verse, Killers of the Flower Moon, Talk to Me. And then, there's a little bit of Asteroid City up there as well. But I can't say I know everything on here. Which, you know what? Just goes to show you, I'm not perfect. I don't know everything that exists, but we'll find out from Letterboxd Year in Review. So let's take a look here. Okay, their year in review. I'm not going to read this whole thing here, but it's just a thing about being Knuff, and this is exactly what the year 2023 was. This is their 12th annual retrospective. And I have my personal summary, which I will also check out. But for now, we're going to look at just what Letterboxd has in store. So, first category here, highest rated film. So we have categories. We have highest rated film, women director, highest rated by category, genre, the world of cinema. So I think to start here, we'll do highest rated films. We'll take a look at women directors. Then highest rated by category. You know what? I think I'll just take it as I go, and we'll see which ones catch my fancy. But for sure, the start is going to be highest rated films. So I don't know if it's going to be like the top 4 or the top 10. We'll see. But so it's based on more than 341 million ratings, which is pretty cool. The highest rated film. Oh, we're just starting off with the very much highest rated. No, there's no list, but all right, the highest rated film was, okay, interesting. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is the highest rated film. And now, anyone who's part of the Letterboxd community is aware that there was a bit of controversy surrounding Letterboxd and their rating decision. And it's surrounded Across the Spider-Verse because when this movie came out, there were a lot of 5-star ratings that were just blasting the platform, and I think Letterboxd was not ready to have a movie that was so young and just in its infancy from its release date to take over as the number 1 spot on their all-time list, which I can understand. I think that's an important weight that needs to be taken into consideration when you are looking at movies. It can't just be the movie of the month, the flavor that everyone is interested as of current. There needs to be that historical aspect that's taken into consideration. So I know, there was some interesting controversy around that. So it makes sense that it is the number one rated movie of 2023. My thoughts on Across the Spider-Verse. I thought it was a very good movie. I really enjoyed it, and I think the animation work that went into this was insane. Supposedly it took them 4 years in order to get all of it done. They were working all the way up to the release date, which is pretty impressive. And I think the cast of characters that were introduced, whether it's Hobie, whether it's the Spider-Man from I forget what the Indian version of New York is called, and it's slipping my mind right now. But that Spider-Man, who's played by the same actor who plays Dopinder in the Deadpool series, which pretty cool right there. But I thought the cast of characters was really well done, just going from the original where you have Peter B. Parker and Spider-Gwen as your two mains there alongside Miles Morales. So the additional characters were great. The relationship between Miles and Gwen is just, it gets me so warm and fuzzy inside. I absolutely adore their just conversation with one another, and a slight touch here and there that just makes me just so happy and just bursting with happiness because of them. And Miles Morales himself, who's the focus of the movie should be, is just, I don't even know if there are ways that they can improve Miles. I really don't think there are. He is so perfectly well voice cast. He is perfectly written. He's just such a great character to follow. You rooting for him the whole time. There's at no point do you go into that movie and continue to watch it and be like, Miles is being dumb, or he isn't really likable. He's just so likable with everything that he does, and any decisions that he makes that maybe aren't in his best interest, they still make sense for the situation that he's in. It doesn't ever verge on the line of stupidity. It's very much Miles, and it makes sense. And I think it's really great. I mean, he's just such a great character to see on the big screen. So, but the big but here is that I think this movie suffers from something that a lot of movies suffer from when they are creating sequels or a big franchise. It's the idea that the next movie, especially a movie surrounding a multiverse, needs to be bigger and better. And to an extent, you have to expect that with a multiversal movie. You can't have a multiversal movie that's small. That doesn't truly make sense in the concept of the multiverse. That being said, I think I preferred the first movie to this one, as it was more self-contained. It was a story that was more easily accessible for random people. Now, I'm certainly not a random person. I've liked multiversal things for many, many years now, well before the superhero movies and genre started to do it. But I do think that first story is more compelling. I think that it shows Miles and Peter B. Parker learning about Miles's powers and how exactly he is going to make his way in the world, and how he's going to make a name for himself as Spider-Man and not just be the next Spider-Man out there. So I really do like the first one a lot better. I believe my rating on this one is a 3.5 out of 5, 7 out of 10, which by no means is a bad score. That's a very good score in my opinion. 7 out of 10, your movie is very good. I think that there's definitely a severe lack of Miguel O'Hara in this. There's not enough of him in it, and I think he's a very interesting character. And I really don't know much about Spider-Man 99, so I think, yeah, it is a pretty bad loss to have Oscar Isaac not in this movie as much as I think the fans would have liked, as Miguel O'Hara, of course. But then also, I didn't really think about this until I read people's commentary and reviews after the movie, but I guess the movie really is a 2.5 hour trailer. I didn't really think about that, but it is the climax of this movie. And this is all spoilers here. I don't do anything that's shielding you from spoilers. So, but this is your spoiler warning for Across the Spider-Verse. I think the fact that it all just led up to the chase, and that was the climax of the movie, and then Miles is sent to his dimension in which the spider that bit him came from. I think that's just, it's a great twist. I absolutely love the twist of now the Miles from the Spider universe that was transported to our Miles' universe. That Miles is the Prowler. I think that's what a twist there. Very, very cool. And I just don't feel like there was enough substance here, and the first movie gave you more substance. Into the Spider-Verse just felt like a more self-contained story, and I think it is, because by the near nature of this movie being Across the Spider-Verse, it's the first part of a two-part series, supposedly two-part series. So we'll have to see what the next one brings. I know they're going to bring their A game for the next movie for sure. It's going to be great, but I've been talking about this a little bit too long, so I'm gonna move on here. But I think, yeah, Across the Spider-Verse, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very good movie, but there's definitely things that, you know, could have maybe done a little bit better, like, you know, added a little more substance to the story instead of just making it that trailer. But the animation, incredible. I'm speaking too much. I'm gonna move on. So our movie here, Poor Things. So, you know, I haven't seen Poor Things, so I can't actually speak to it. I can go from the perspective of my friend Colin, who wanted to watch Poor Things for a very long time. He is a big fan of Yorgos and his movies, be it The Killing of a Sacred Deer, Dogtooth, The Favorite, things like that. And Colin was a little disappointed. I believe he also gave this movie a 3.5 out of 5. But he thinks that he overhyped it for himself. So it's not to say that the movie is bad by any means. It's just Colin was probably going in there with a 9 out of 10 / 10 out of 10 rating in his head. So 4.5, 5 stars. And it wasn't that for him. So I think that is probably something to consider, that, you know, the movie is going to be really good, but it may not live up to your total expectations. That is just one person's opinion, and it's certainly not mine because I haven't seen it. I might watch it. I'm not super sold that I will watch it, but it's very possible that I eventually do it for awards season or something like that, but that'll be in a different video. Alrighty, our next movie here, Oppenheimer. I mean, what is there to say? This movie, that's tough. I don't know if this was the best movie of the year, in my opinion, or not. I don't know. That's tough. Between Killers of the Flower Moon and Oppenheimer, I'm not sure. I would... Wow, that's really tough. That's a really tough decision. I'm not sure I have an answer in this video on which one is the better of the two. But Oppenheimer is everything that it's chalked up to be. Just the acting performances of everyone across the board. I hate this because I can't share it with a lot of people who haven't seen Oppenheimer because it just wouldn't make sense to them. But the scene in which Oppenheimer is talking to one of the scientists, and apologies for me not remembering everyone's name here, but he's talking to him just at the end after the bomb has been dropped, and they're talking about denuclearization. They're still at Los Alamos in here, and he talks to the scientist, and the scientist says, until somebody builds a bigger bomb. And the meme that just kills me every time is that same scene. It's just a still from the perspective of the other scientist, and it says, until someone builds a 5 loco. And that that is it's too funny. It's too funny to me that people on the internet are far too talented, and I wish that I had that talent. So yeah, until they build a 5 loco. Too funny. Oppenheimer, great. 4.5 out of 5. Interestingly enough, I saw this movie 3 times, and I originally had it at I was going to say 8 out of 10. It's hard. My rating scale is so messy in my head. So the 8 out of 10 / 4 out of 5 stars was in my head originally, but the rewatch really gave me that deeper appreciation for it, and I saw it for the 9 out of 10, 4.5 out of 5 stars that it really is. So I think also another important thing to consider, which I have never made a video on, but my scale stops at 4.5. I've never given a 5-star or a 10 out of 10, not because I'm a snob. Well, maybe because I'm a snob. I'm not sure. But I just don't know if I've ever seen the perfect movie. And I feel like that's just such a distinct title, needs to be given a 10 out of 10. So, yeah, that's high praise for me, though. I thought the movie was phenomenal. Absolute feat of cinema. Okay, so the next 10 of the highest rated. Past Lives, haven't seen it. I had the opportunity to see it back in May, I want to say. But I opted to go see something else instead. I don't think that the timing of the theaters would have worked out. So I wish I had seen it, because I think it's going to win some awards, potentially. I'm not sure. But my friend Donald saw it. He really enjoyed it, so I know that. The Holdovers, I did watch The Holdovers with my family. It was really great. My brother is a big fan of Paul Giamatti himself, so we went to go see The Holdovers, and yeah, I thought it was very good. Once again, this is a 3.5 out of 5, 7 out of 10 rating. I think I definitely expected a little more comedy than we got. It was much more of that comedic drama, but that's not to say it doesn't deliver. Giamatti is still wonderful, playing the old curmudgeon that he is, and I really just, every time he's on screen, it's always just enjoyable to watch. So, Monster, heard about this one, haven't seen it, and I don't have any sort of insight into it. Godzilla -1, you can go see episode -5 of this podcast if you want more information on my thoughts on Godzilla -1. So I won't cover that here, but overall, 3.5 out of 5 stars. Anatomy of a Fall, another movie that I have heard a lot about. I saw the standee in the local AMC over the summer, and I was interested in what this movie was going to be about. Supposedly, it's in the running for Best Foreign Language Film, and probably is going to lead on Best Foreign Language Film. So, we'll see what happens there. But I have heard very good things. Killers of the Flower Moon, yes. So, Killers of the Flower Moon is an interesting one when I look at it compared to Oppenheimer, because I'm really not sure which of those movies is better. And I think Killers is, could be, in my opinion, this could be Scorsese's magnum opus. I really do. I think that movie is just no breaks, no stops, all diesel gasoline. It's great. It's absolutely phenomenal to watch, and the runtime is definitely worth it. I know that is a concern for people who don't like to be sitting there all for 3 hours and 20 minutes. I can understand that, but I think the runtime is definitely worth watching. Perfect Days, I've never even heard of that, so I don't know what that is. The Iron Claw, I have also heard really great things. I know it's a very emotional story, and supposedly Zac Efron is buff in this. Like, he is big. So that is going to be an interesting watch. I think I will eventually watch it. It's just going to be a matter of time before I do. Rice Boys Sleeps. I don't know what that is. And then The Zone of Interest, which I've heard of, but once again, have not seen. So really, on this list, there's not much that I've actually seen. Of the 13 movies featured here, we're looking at 5, if I did that correct. Killers, Godzilla, The Holdovers, Oppenheimer, and Spider-Verse. Yeah, so 5 of the top 13 I have seen, which is really not a lot, but it's certainly something that I could work myself towards if I wanted to. But okay, that is all that we've got. Okay, now we're into genre winners. So this is an interesting section here. Yeah, for action adventure, we have Godzilla -1. Oh, okay, cool. They give you a whole list of the movies here that are in the genre. I like that. So Godzilla -1 is the definitive winner for action adventure movies, and I think that probably makes sense. I would say it was, yeah, really well done. I do think that there are better movies on this list than Godzilla -1, personally. Looking at here, number 3, John Wick Chapter 4. Just the John Wick franchise just keeps getting better. It really does. And sure, you may not like action movies, but if you like action movies, I don't truly know what there isn't to like about John Wick. I mean, it is just so utterly violent, and originally we were in the realistic, hyper-realistic state. Now we're just pure fantasy with all the violence that happens, which I'm here for it. I want to be able to watch this thing, laugh at how incredibly ridiculous and wild some of these killings and features are. But yeah, I mean, John Wick Chapter 4 is just, you want to talk about diesel gasoline, that's what that movie is. It's just injected into the veins. Just take a shot of adrenaline and stick it into my heart like my name is Uma Thurman. I mean, it is crazy. It is just so good. And yeah, Chapter 5 will be an interesting one because they're planning something. So I'm going to be interested to see, again, spoilers here. Don't listen if you don't want to hear the spoiler. This is a really big spoiler. But I'm going to be really interested if they actually do bring him back from the dead somehow, or if it's going to be a movie that took place in between movies 1 and 2 with Lance Reddick as Sharon. Now, of course, Lance Reddick has died, so we're not really sure how that would work in a sort of in-between movie situation, but I'm sure they will somehow. And then we're going to look here at number 6 on the list with Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. So people say that Dead Reckoning is good, but it's not as good as Fallout. I don't know. I kind of disagree. I did manage to watch all of the Mission Impossible movies last year, or the end of 2022 into 2023, I believe is what I did. I'd have to look back at my diary to be sure on that. But yeah, I think it's... Oh, it would be a shame if I wasn't recording on this. I think I am, so I'm fine. But I think this movie's better. I really do. I think you get a different side of Ethan and Ilsa's relationship that you've previously seen in movies, but I think it's more fleshed out here. And I mean, there's going to be a level of cheese to all of these movies. The Mission Impossible movies, they didn't really start making good movies. This might be a little bit of a hot take, but I don't think they made a good movie until Fallout. Well, no. I think the first one was good, and then there was a very clear dip in quality from 2, 3, and 4. 5 was Ghost Nation. There's Ghost Nation and Rogue Nation Ghost Protocol. I'm messing it up in my head. Ghost Protocol, I don't think is anything special. And Rogue Nation might have actually been the one that ticked up on the list. I am forgetting exactly what I rated for those, but there's a lot of fives in the Mission Impossible series. Really not super impressive or anything to write home about. But I think this movie is better than Fallout, and I will continue to defend that. Haley Atwell, great addition. Can't wait to see you in the next one. So let's move on to the next genre here, which is comedy. So Poor Things, haven't seen that. Looking at the holdovers, Barbie. Yeah, I mean, I haven't really heard much of these movies, so I'm just going to skip over comedy because, not exactly my great insight here. Dramas, we have Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, and those are the only ones that I've seen. So I guess I really haven't seen a lot of movies from 2013. I suppose if I look at my own personal breakdown, I would see that I've seen more movies that were not released this year than have been released this year. So I suppose that makes sense. But nothing else I really need to say on this. Fantasy movies. Okay. Beau is Afraid. I've said this about Beau is Afraid. I think I will enjoy it less on a rewatch. I gave it a 7 out of 10, 3.5 out of 5, so I don't think that it's a bad movie by any means. No, I think it's a very good movie. But there is something that's telling me I will watch that again and be like, it's not as great as I thought it was. So, we'll see. Okay, horror. Cool. Let's see here. I have only seen one, and it's the top of the list. So I will talk to that. Talk to Me as the number one horror movie of the year. I have said it before, and I will say it again. A24 finds it very difficult to miss on the projects that they put out and the projects that they finance. And Talk to Me is again, no exception to that rule. They found a really cool idea. I'm not sure I have no idea how it was financed or who was the person that actually came up with this, whether it was an A24 internal decision or if they just shopped around for it, but this is really cool. I think it's a movie that actually makes a lot of logical sense. There's not a lot of stupid things that happen in it, which is atypical for a horror movie, which I really like. It's also Australian, which, shout out Australia. Yeah, that's something that is just an added element that you really wouldn't have thought about. But yeah, this movie is a really great time. It's a really great time. I think that there's a level of comedy to it, but it's not stupid comedy. Like it's just funny comedy. But the horror is actually quite good. And I think that it is interesting as we follow the progression of the main character. I'm forgetting her name, but it's a very it all kind of makes sense, and at the end and how it all shakes out with spoilers. I gotta stop saying that. You just gotta know that there's spoilers. But with her sacrificing herself for her friend's brother, and I think this is a very, very cool part about Talk to Me that I'm not really sure if a lot of people picked this up or not. So at the end of Talk to Me, we see the main character walking through the dead land, I'll call it. The land of the spirits, we'll call it that. And as she's doing this, she can see things that are happening in the world because supposedly this is some sort of temporal displacement in the land of the spirits. And when she finally gets pulled back in to the land of the living, we see this room full of guys that are speaking Spanish, and then excellently the movie ends with "I let you in and not talk to me," which is like, that's true to how the movie actually works, which is smart. But I think something that people probably didn't pick up is that the hand he's using is not the same hand that they were using in this movie, because we hear about the lore about some witch having her hands cut off and encased in stone. And so the hand that we see throughout the movie, that's one hand, and the hand that these guys that are from a Spanish-speaking country are using, it's the other hand. It's the other hand. And I think that is so smart, because why wouldn't there be the other hand? Why would the other hand not be going around somewhere in the world? Excuse me. So yeah, I think that's such a small element that I really don't think people picked up on, and it's great. It's absolutely great. It's just a great way to end that movie. So I did watch a lot more horror this year, but clearly not enough from 2023. Yeah, so I think really my 2023 list of things is really not going to be high, because the story of the Wiggles as the highest rated documentary from a woman director. That's pretty cool. Who doesn't love the Wiggles, right? But I think, yeah, I haven't watched enough of 2023. Okay, I can look here. Women directors, just most popular. We've got Barbie, Saltburn, Bottoms, Past Lives. Five Nights at Freddy's. Didn't know that was women directed, but the more you know. Cocaine Bear. Didn't know that was women directed either. Priscilla, Anatomy of the Fall, Totally Killer, and I forget what that one's called. And Theater Camp. I've seen it. I've heard of all of these, haven't seen them all. But Totally Killer was actually a little popular. Had a little stint of popularity for a bit. And yeah, I don't know entirely what it's about. I'm sure it's more of a cheesy horror movie than it is anything good. But yeah, I can't really base that off of anything besides my initial perception. But yeah, I think the rest of this list here is just going to be movies that I haven't seen, so I'm not sure I can really speak to it anymore. But yeah, I think that'll be it for now. So yeah, that's the Letterboxd history, or rather the 2023 year in review. I think I'm going to go take a little break, and then I'm going to go look at my year in review and give you little results there. So overall, yeah, that's what I've got right now. So stay tuned for more. So as you can see, I didn't end up going through the rest of 2023's year in review for Letterboxd, nor my own personal 2023 results. I had some audio issues that couldn't be rectified, and instead of trying to redo that, I'm just going to call the podcast here. -4 is complete. So hopefully you enjoyed this piece of content. It's a little bit different than your normal movie review, and I think there could be more of this on the horizon. So remember to look out for any of our new uploads as they slowly get out there. And per usual, thanks for watching, and welcome to Film Muse.